Today we're going to be taking a look at this copy of The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. I bought this on eBay for a few dollars. It was listed as in non-working condition. The seller said that it would only turn on 1 out of 5 times or something like that, so it was sometimes working but not all the time. And I'll kind of show you what happens here. So when you pop it in, turn it on, you can see, oh, looks like it's going to work for us this time. Let's go ahead and try it again. I'll show you what happens. Oh, would you look at that? 2 for 2. There we go. So this is normally what will happen. As you can kind of see, the Nintendo logo is all scrambled up and it doesn't quite work. It'll just kind of hang there. So if I turn this off and on again, you'll see it's the same deal. And a lot of times when I was messing with it, you would put it in and it would be scrambled in a different way. So you can see it's kind of different scramble there. This was last time. But it does work. So you'd see it did come on a few times. It's just not working every time. Just to show you here that the Game Boy works, I have the other version of this, which is the Oracle of Seasons game. It's just like the parallel game to this. And as you can see, comes right on, works normally, no problems on this one. All right, so what I'm thinking with this game is that the pins most likely aren't making a clean connection, which is why it'll boot sometimes. We know the game works, but not every time, so there must be some kind of corrosion or something on the pin. So we're just gonna go ahead and open this up. This is the game bit driver. And we're just gonna go ahead and pop this open and see if we see anything on this board. So let's pop this out. And let's see here. Well, immediately you can see that spot there. And that's just like a little bit of corrosion. So you see it's a little bit discolored. It's kind of like a bluish color. You can kind of get that to focus in there. And there's also this. I'm not quite sure what that is. That's just like a little spot on there. But let's take a look. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to clean these pins. They mostly look pretty good. So we'll hopefully just clean that spot off and see if that fixes it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol here and a little cotton swab. And we're just going to kind of get a little bit of that and just kind of see if we can work that little spot off there. It's pretty obvious. You can, once you get the case off. Let's see if we can get that just to come right off. Not quite. Just gonna kind of work it on there. Get a little closer look. It's pretty bad, actually. It's it looks like it might be a little bit of a scrape or something. Maybe something got in there from the previous owner. So I'm going to take a look at it. And there's also another trick that I see a lot of people doing, which is the eraser, where they just rub an eraser on the pins, and that seems to be pretty effective. But we'll see. I'm just going to grab another cotton swab here. A little bit more alcohol on there. We're just going to go over all the pins just to check them all out. Check the other side. That side looks totally fine. Okay. Yeah, I really think that's the culprit there, because it did start up those 2 times initially, which is unusual, but of course it happens on video. So it definitely works. It's just a matter of that connection. So I'm assuming the contact is just hitting that spot on the pin and it's just not starting up. So let's just check it out and see if it works for us. Pop that guy in there. And I'm not going to bother putting the screw back in or anything like that. There we go. All right. So let's pop this in. Let's see. So that's good. So far so good. And so good. Oh no, that's actually a little distorted, just barely. All right, so let's try it one more time. Same deal. Yep. And this is more of the behavior that I was seeing originally. It really is about 1 in 5 times or so. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna have to do a little bit more to kind of repair that pin. So let's take a look at it here. And let's get a closer look at that. So we may have to actually kind of repair that a little bit. So let's take a look at it and see if we can get that fixed. All right, so I've got the board here on the silicon mat. I've got my soldering iron heating up over here. But before we do that, I'm just going to try this eraser trick and just see if we can just try to get that off. Pretty sure it's not going to work, but it's worth a shot. They say just this cleans up the contacts, get any of that grime off. So I'm just going to try that out. Definitely does not seem to be doing the trick. It's still definitely there. Let's give it a little bit of rub with alcohol one more time just to try it out. And we're just gonna clean it up. All right, and yeah, you can definitely see that's definitely what the problem is. That little scrape there. And let's put this back together. And we'll just test it out one more time. I'm expecting it to kind of be the same results, but it's always worth a shot before we do too much here. So as you can see, same kind of garbled text there. So yeah, all right. So I'm pretty sure we're just gonna have to go ahead and redo this pin connection here. So pretty much what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my soldering iron and I'm going to just lay a really tiny bit of solder right on that pin just to kind of bridge that step there. Just see if we can get that to work. So we're just gonna cover that up and just put a really small amount of solder on that little point. All right, so let's see. Check the soldering iron. It's getting there. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we're just going to want to flux this. We got our flux pen here. We're just going to add a little bit of flux here, just to kind of get it a little bit wet. Keep the flux. This just helps the solder kind of flow a little bit more. Just keeps it more liquid state. All right, and that should be good. And let's go ahead and see if we can just get the smallest amount of solder on there. So I have my soldering iron here, and the tiniest bit of solder. I'm just gonna see if I can just put a tiny bit there. I'm just gonna just barely drag it down to see if we can just. So that's a pretty tiny little bit. I don't know if that's going to be enough or not. As you can see, still kind of see that little gap there. So let's see if we can just see if that works. Take a little bit of a closer look. And that should bridge that small connection. I just need to make sure it's not, it doesn't look like it's too bumpy or anything. You just want to prevent it from being like a big lump because you don't want to have to sand it down. But it looks pretty good. It definitely is not the worst. Let's see if that works for us. So we're just going to throw it in and see if it works. And that might be all we need to do, but let's test it out. Let's see. Oh, so far so good. There's one. But like we said before, I mean, we've seen it work a few times, and it doesn't mean it's necessarily fixed. So that's two. So let's take it out. And let's just kind of taking a look at it here. Pop that sucker back in. Oh, there we go. yeah, it's all garbled up. So same behavior, still not quite fixed yet. Oh, there we go. So it's definitely working more frequently, which is good. You see it's a little jacked up there. So it's close. I mean, it's better than it was, that's for sure. So let's see if we can just put a little bit more on there and see if we can get it in a better state there. Not that. All right. So let's take a look. Definitely going to add a little bit more flux to this bad boy there. Definitely just gonna get that. There we go. Perfect. All right, we got our soldering iron. We are just gonna add the smallest little bit here. So I'm just gonna apply it to the soldering iron, and then just kind of drag it down there. Right. So you can see it's a little bit better. Got a little bit on the other pin there, but that shouldn't really hurt it. Definitely better than it was. Just gonna try to do that. Actually, what we might want to do is kind of wick some of that up with some solder wicks. Let me just grab that here. We're just gonna see if we can get some of that excess on the bottom here absorbed. So this is just our solder wick. This is just a little bit of braid that kind of helps absorb any excess. I'm just gonna, so you can see it just kind of absorbs that there right onto the end. All right, so let's take a look. So it might work. It's a little bit better covering it there. So let's test it out again and see if that's enough to fix it. Put it back together, pop it in, and there we go. Got Nintendo, boots right up. This is definitely a trial and error type of repair. All right, there we go. Boots right up. I'm going to call it successful if we can get it to do it 5 times in a row. That's the 3rd time. Fourth time. And the 5th time. Bingo. It looks like that was all it really needed. It was just that little tiny chip that was in the pin. Looks like that was messing with the contact there. So I'll try it one more time for good luck. And there we go. So I'm going to call that fixed, because previously it was like 1 in 4, you know, every few times, but that's definitely a lot more consistent than it was. So the first thing we need to do now, or the last thing we need to do, is just going to clear this up, pop that screw back in. We're just going to use our game bit driver here. Take the screw, put it in there. We can get it in there. There we go. All right. And there we go. Put back together. And let's just try one more time for good luck. And there we go. So as you can see, pretty easy repair. Really not too difficult. Just had to kind of resolder those pins, and that's about it. So pretty quick and easy. Really not too difficult. And there we go. We're in. Oh, take a couple save files. All right. Well, that's about it. Quick repair, pretty quick video. If this helped you out, leave a thumbs up below. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.